And I hope you are able to see the screen that I have shared, and it has white background and some logos. So that's the banner I'm working under. So roughly 25, like 6 months ago, I quit my 25 years of career, and that's when I started a company with another partner. And objective of that is to provide mindset, skills, and the direction in line to your values and the inclinations. So that's the banner, and we are running primarily the coaching part, which is heavily on the executive coaching, heavily centered around values, working on skills delivery. My expertise are agile, scrum, product management, leadership, but at the same time, we have partner courses from Salesforce, AI, and robotics. In addition to Meetup channel, you will also see future compatible newsletter, which heavily focuses on self leadership, people leadership, and other organization things. And where you're participating right now, it's a Meetup event or in the webinar format. In addition to those things which I talk now for the experienced professionals, we also provide early career professionals guidance on career counseling, job search support, internship, and hiring. How? Because we also, my partner in this venture has some IT companies where he has option to provide internship and hiring. And last and final, for B2B in your workplace, if you are looking for some advisory services in or the capability creations for ways of working or product management or project management, you can always invite us. These are the few meetup banners you may have seen, which I have rebranded from existing groups. And this is the time to also read out some disclaimer that especially this topic as it's very interesting, but at the same time, this is also very subjective based on the kind of data people refer. They might draw different inferences. So I wanted to play out here on behalf of me as well as on my behalf of my friends Henry and David that what we are going to share is completely our belief based on what we saw, and it's we do not have any affiliation or echoing anybody else's sentiment here. So it should be seen as our personal view. You have option to absorb it, use it for your career planning, or completely ignore it. So that's the disclaimer I wanted to play out. And we are available on these channels, but most heavily on the email and the newsletter. That's why you will see everywhere. That's where it's primarily used. Now, let me jump to the topic and introduce our guest here. Roughly 2 months ago, we started talking about what, and the natural topic always was that what's happening around us. And this is where we also exchanged that how this current development in New Zealand, in Oceania, in Asia Pacific, and broader in the world after the geopolitical shifts have been happening extensively in this tariff war. It's very difficult to see how the professional world is shaping up, how it's changing, and how it's evolving. So there, we also exchanged that there is quite amount of anxiety among the people, which is quite evident in the participation rate also here. So this is where we came up with these some of these questions, and at the end, when we frame these questions, this is the topic we emerge with. So I appreciate David and Henry sparing their time, and not just today. This work has been going on from more than 2 months. So sparing their thinking, their thought process, and their zeal to support our people. So here they are, and let me request David and Henry to introduce themselves. Uh, so David, let's start with you.
Awesome. Well, hello everybody. Thank you very much for making the time. As Ashish mentioned, the bulk of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of months have been obviously focused around what we have been seeing in the market over the last 24 months, obviously, with the fluctuations of, opportunities in the um, and the obviously the coming in of the a lot of the migrants into New Zealand as well. But a little bit about myself before we go any further. I've been with the business for more than a few years now. Had the opportunity to currently lead our delivery practice across both Wellington and Auckland, predominantly focused on the development, architecture, and testing skill sets within this sort of both government in Wellington and financial services up in Auckland as well. But yeah, so feel free. Really keen to, I guess, give you guys around insights around how to better, I guess, place your profile in um, and get your name out there. If you say so, and get that phone call from that recruiter or that interview as well.
Thank you, David.
Awesome. Hey guys, yeah, thanks for making the time to jump on, and thank you Ashish for having Dave and I. Obviously, it's been I think we met you maybe last year in person, then this year reconnecting, and then yeah, we've had some really good conversations and a good chance to share a bit about what we've been seeing and I guess what we're predicting or what we're hoping might happen going forward. But yeah, for myself, a little bit of a background. So from New Zealand, from the very south in Invercargill, and I spent some time in Dunedin studying. And my background isn't too much in the IT space originally, more sort of marketing and sport management. But when I finished uni, it was during that COVID era where not heaps of job opportunities around at that time, probably not too dissimilar to now. And so I took a bit of a punt and moved to Auckland, where Ashish is based now, and spent more of my last 2 years in a commission sales role. So a lot of face-to-face engagement, which has been transferable. But I moved to Wellington to sort of run a satellite office for our business in Auckland. But because of the work we did was mostly raising revenue for some sporting-based charities, and with the new government coming in and discretionary spend being a bit lower, it definitely became a bit of a harder sell. So decided to step away and spent about 6 weeks without a job. So I kind of know firsthand that experience of firing CVs out and not really getting much in return, and thinking, man, will I ever find this next role? But unfortunately, it came across a really cool opportunity with TEKsystems. So been with the business about a year now, sort of more work in the business operations space, and maybe less IT focus, more business change or transformation, working with a lot of BAs, project managers, and change managers as well. But yeah, keen to share a bit about what we've been seeing, some insights, and if any of you guys out there fit one of those skill sets, happy to engage in a conversation another time as well.
Great, thank you, Henry. Appreciate that. And this is and one thing I can tell about Henry and David is that while they are focusing in these areas, but they are very holistic and very knowledgeable people, and same time very friendly too. And this is how we started from one thread and converged into quite a number of other things. So that's what gave rise to this conversation. But anyway, without further ado, let's jump into the main content, and the structure or the flow of this conversation would be as following. First, we'll be starting with the market outlook that will focus on overall market update, how the economic activity is happening, and how we perceive it from our people perspective, how it's translating into cost of living, labor market impact, how are business perceiving it, how are they taking action about it, and further we will dissect into two parts. One is public sector and another is private sector. As we know, Wellington is heavily government, whereas Auckland and Christchurch are private. And from there, we will go towards technology trends. So this is where all these things will be shared by them. And then we will jump to the question and answers part. And that's when we'll switch to the podcast format. So with that, let me hand over baton to our guest. Over to you, David and Henry.
I think you're meant to run this first part, Dave, but I'll rip into it. So I guess, yeah, the market update, we've seen the OCR, is down quite a bit in February 2025 after cuts began in August. So banks have responded with mortgage rates cuts, offering sub 5% mortgages. So this is a rate that has been seen for a while. But we have seen a bit of a technical recession. So inflation is now within the Reserve Bank's 1 to 3% target. So which has shown decline. It has stabilised, obviously, with global uncertainty with US tariffs. It's hard to say what the impact that will have here, but a weaker New Zealand dollar could definitely help exporters as well. But Westpac's predicting stronger growth in the second half of 2025, about 2.5%, and then hopefully 3% in 2025. But that's kind of a broad overview on the economics. And, we're not economists, we're not in the Reserve Bank, but engaging with people within the banks as well as comes some of the sort of trends that we're hearing as well. But I'll let David sort of talk a bit about the cost of living situation that we're seeing at the moment.
Awesome. Thanks, Henry, for obviously the giving us a overall macro point of view. When it comes to the cost of living expenses within New Zealand, households continue to struggle with rising living costs, particularly in housing, utilities, food, and utilities, all that, other things that us normal Kiwis are shouldn't be worrying about is worried about now, right? I mean, the cost of living for the average household rose by 3% in the year of December 2024, down from a peak of 8.2% in 2022. As a result, many families have had to reassess their spending priorities and focus on essential expenses. When it regards to regional price rises, Auckland and Wellington have traditionally had the highest living costs. Recent data shows that regional areas are also experiencing notable price increases, reducing the cost of disparity between urban and rural areas. Um, Between 2020 and 2024, inflation rates have ranged from 19% in Wellington to 22% in other parts of obviously the North and South Island as well. Um, in regards to, I guess, stepping into more of the labor market conditions, um, over the past 6 months, we saw that flexible work has been a major talking point in the New Zealand IT sector. Job listing back this up. Uh, Data from Seek New Zealand shows that a quarter of IT roles now offer work from home options for many professionals. Hybrid work is the new normal. Um, Companies that don't offer flexibility are struggling to attract top talent. However, not so much in this tighter market that we are in. Predominantly focusing on in Wellington, the government had rolled out a new policy tightening remote work rules for public servants. Many in the private sector have already adopted the return to work mandate, often sort of 3 days in the office, 2 days from home flexibility. Um, Other business, as they try to find the right balance, many are still trying to figure out, how to keep the employees happy while maintaining that sort of productivity and morale within the team as well. Um, but we do see more and more and more within the Wellington sector, especially government, that there have been a massive push to bring people into back into the office to build teams, to build camaraderie within people. But it's also having to find that good balance because everyone has families, everyone has kids. It's something that you can't just take away, right? But it's there. It's just finding the right balance. That's what we see from a sort of work from home, work from office flexibility. Um, from, I guess, a Wellington market, I'll also get Henry to talk about sort of the business concerns that we're facing in the Wellington market. In regard to the public sector job cuts, in Wellington predominantly, the public sector job cuts have been a significant issue, impacting both government employees and the local economy. Like going and walking into Wellington, and just this is just, Henry can attest to this. It's like, you've got long time cafes that been operating in Wellington for a very long time. Like, you've got your classics like your Pandora, operation for more than 20 years, now closed down due to liquidation. La Cloche, Bordeaux Bakery, another one, is another establishment in Wellington, operations for more than 20 odd years as well, is now closed because they're just they can't make ends meet anymore. So you're losing a lot of those, you're losing a lot of those local businesses that were thriving previously, now in a very much, um, in a state of like they can't even afford to keep their businesses afloat as well. So that's sort of the impact that we see, both from a sort of the public sector cuts and how it's completely, had a significant impact to the local economy. But now what we're seeing, I guess, what we've seen recently is that we've seen a lot more short-term contracts pop up within government, obviously to get the last stretch of that delivery going, um, up until the financial year resets in June. So it's getting better. That's where I'm trying to get to. It's getting better. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel at this point. But yeah, that's from it for me from a sort of micro point of view from a public sector Wellington market. I guess, Henry, do you want to just talk about almost like the business concerns that we are?
Yeah. Well, I mean, happy to add to that as well. I guess like we do work a lot with contractors at TEKsystems, and we have seen the hourly rates drop a bit as well, probably about 10% from last year, and maybe some of these seasoned contractors have looked more for more job security, and permanent roles, and we've seen maybe more fixed term opportunities appear. But it does seem like the permanent sort of headcount or unemployment rate might still be rising, but also the contractor spend is also starting to rise again as well. So I think the amount of job seekers probably peaked last year. Like there was a lot of candidates on the market, not that many jobs. Now it's starting to shift a little bit, that we're seeing more candidates getting roles recently, whether it be through us or another agency or going direct, or through a former manager. So it's definitely positive that we're reaching out to people in there saying, hey, I've actually had 2, 3 calls, 2, 3 opportunities on the go, which is really exciting. But also we're seeing a lot of our workforce, especially the younger workforce, probably more David and I's age, but even older as well, moving offshore to the likes of Australia and the UK. And the grass isn't always greener. It's still competitive, those markets over there. More opportunities, but also more people as well. But those are a few of the trends that we're seeing. So it's definitely picked up from just our point of view in terms of the work that we do. But yeah, in general, it has been challenging, but on the rise as well. But like industries that seem to be growing is the energy sector. There's a big rise in electricity demand of renewable energy and solar, green hydrogen, wind, grid scale battery storage priorities. So like we're seeing a lot of our customers who are energy based companies doing a lot of major initiatives. They're getting lots of funding allocated to them, and that's kind of the way of the future. So that seems to be growing. We know that government has been a bit more restricted, but the banking industry has kind of stabilized a little bit, probably similar to following what the government is doing, tightening their regulations, but opportunities in maybe financial tech or financial services are starting to grow a bit as well. But we're seeing a few different skills in demand. We know AIs are something that we're hearing a lot about. So it's not as common in New Zealand, but it is trending towards that. I mean, even ourselves at Tech are looking to, I think overseas, that we utilize an AI within Salesforce that allows like good, adequate CV matching to job descriptions. So that's kind of what we'll talk about later on, the importance of making your CV stand out. But AI can't do all the work, of course. AI can't meet people in person, have a coffee with them, assess like their cultural fit to an organization, because that's kind of the key thing, really, more so than technical skill sets. But there are government organizations looking to implement some AI into more the operational based roles, which will be very interesting. But other skills in demand, I'd say, from David and I's perspective, is things like cybersecurity, working with cloud data migration. Those skills are always in demand. DevOps as well, security especially. So if you're in that space as well, there's definitely some good patterns there. Maybe perhaps more in that sort of operational day-to-day BAU role opportunities, and maybe a little bit limited at the moment as well. But that's just a few things that we've noticed ourselves, from our time being at Tech, and maybe how it's changed from a few years ago, where the market was very hot and people were stepping into contracting. With not much prior experience. So, no, very interesting. But yeah, I thought it'd be a few things worth sharing that our team sort of put together towards the end of last year.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Henry and David. So, and thanks for sharing and specific focus on how government spending has been varying, how banks are seeing it, and more importantly, how people connect is still important, and how there is a greater confidence or opportunities in cybersecurity, cloud, and DevOps space. Whereas BAU is not as much buoyant as it used to be. So this is where people can draw insights accordingly in terms of what skills they have so far, what they are focusing on in the strategic direction, and also depending on which sector they have been or they want to be in. So I think that's where the overall picture needs to be put. So the thing that I'm curious about is that we have gone through that spike cycle. We had a very buoyant market 5 to 6 years ago, but then how would we summarize this last 3 years of trend, David?
I guess what we have experienced post COVID, where we saw the influx of jobs come out left and right, was a consequence of, I guess, government operations being halted. Nothing really was delivered. All these government agencies have had needed to deliver some sort of outcome for New Zealand, and at that point in time, the money was there, capex was there, projects are ready to be delivered and done. And I guess the scarcity had happened when a lot of this talented developers, BAs within both the Wellington and New Zealand rather had made the choice to move out of the country to Australia, to the UK, to see better opportunities. But to better describe what we've been seeing in the last 3 years is almost the market had to recorrect itself because contractual rates were skyrocketing. BAs were getting like 135 to 140 per hour in the contracting space, but it just had to correct itself. And I guess the other sort of what you could also call it is um, scaling down as well from the uh, exorbitant spending that we've been seeing within sort of the market as well. But I guess what we're seeing now is we're just heading back to the normal sort of the olden days, if you say, well, if you would say that, where there is contracting opportunities, but it's nothing like in comparison to what it was a couple years ago, where you're getting almost requests for contract opportunities every 24 to 48 hours, right? So there's actually no one word to sum it all up, but it's if I was to sum it up, it's the market that's recorrecting itself again.
Gotcha. Essentially, what I'm hearing is couple of trends are prominent that there was, first of all, a huge inorganic shift initially, which is getting corrected. So it's normalizing now. All those inorganic or inefficient spikes are being corrected. So that is what is playing out. So now we are going to the original self. So that way, uh, it's not that, could I say, it's not that alarming. It's just finding the normal or equilibrium. So, okay. So while we have seen the past trajectory or the trends, now let's connect it what we are heading towards.
Mhm.
So, what are these employment trends telling, and what are you anticipating for next year or so,
Mhm.
Henry?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, and bottom line is it's impossible to really know. But I guess the trends that we're seeing is there is a bit of a recovery in the technology space. A lot of organisation in the banks and public sector, they all are undergoing large digital transformation programs. It's just about which organisations will get allocated that funding or which ones have the priority to undertake them. But we're seeing a lot of pickup in the space. Definitely probably a lot of old legacy systems are being changed into new consumer off the shelf systems. So we're seeing lots of those going on there. But there is a big focus on roles within the AI space coming up, cybersecurity, data and analytics as well, and a lot of data migration roles. So I mean, the technology space is bouncing. It's kind of one of those industries, perhaps unlike the construction industry, which has really come to a bit of a grinding halt. Technology is always going to need to keep up, and New Zealand is behind a lot of other countries in the rest of the world, but it's still definitely a priority that we will sort of see a bit of a pickup in spaces there. So I mean, the economy's starting to stabilize a little bit. Business confidence is starting to rebound after last year being quite a challenging year. And the government is stabilising in terms of less restructuring happening. They've sort of done their plan of reducing spend, bringing down interest rates, and now there's work that needs to be done. And I guess for the government's in at the moment to potentially keep voters, and obviously not here to talk anything politically, but there probably needs to be work that has to be done for them to, I guess, keep voter confidence as well. We know that the governments are quite different in their stance towards hiring people as well. So potentially next year things could look a lot different come the next election cycle in terms of roles that are going back on the market. But then again, that sometimes leads to a bit of a cycle that means we could be back here in the future. And fingers crossed that's not the case. But yeah, I think employment is forecasted to grow next year. Like slightly, it definitely has gone high, but it's not the low, but not the lowest it's been. I think 10 years ago or after 2008, which was before my time. I was still in school, but it sounded like the unemployment rate was higher then than it has been now.
Oh,
But it just maybe has a bit of a feeling of being a bit more challenging because things were in such a boom before this happened. Um, but then, yeah, like going forward, we have seen maybe calls to get people back in the office. I don't think that's going to change for a while. I think flexibility has become such an important part of people's day to day life and way of working. I'd say, skilled workers will get preference towards, still having remote work or probably more so hybrid work. I think being in the office at least 1 or 2 days a week is becoming quite valued, getting that team connectivity together. But I wouldn't say there's a trend going forward of getting people back into the office every single day of the week as well, as we mentioned a bit earlier.
sure, understood. So what I heard, Henry, is there is a specific focus. You are saying that there is money that can that organizations can spend, and because of this political cycle, there is this is also a positive outlook, and that will culminate in some way in upcoming quarters, which is a positive sign for us. Now,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, you also mentioned about ongoing transformation, which are quite visible in terms of the role that are appearing in the market. But here, what comes to my mind is that with every transformation comes that there are some old systems getting sunset and there are some new systems coming in place, which also results, or I would say twofold dimension, that while the workforce count may not drastically change, it may reduce little bit of efficiencies as is always inbuilt in the business case. But
Mm-hmm.
what could happen is a shift in skills that may be desired post transformation. So I think that's what is also evident. And you mentioned there that more skilled people or the higher proficiency level will draw back more calls, and being more flexible about for a in-person or hybrid work environment could increase people's chances of staying employed and being a more uh, even if they are in the contract space.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I guess just to add to that, like a lot of these large programs that have been put on halt have now been submitted to cabinet, getting approved, and there is a few government organisations that we partner with. We know we've got large programs of work underway, some pretty exciting, ambitious ones. Some of them we can't maybe disclose just yet, but and with that there'll be lots of work in the BA space, developers, architects. There is a lot of work to come, but it's just been put on the halt for quite a while as well. So I think you predict maybe when the new budgets are approved for the next financial year is when we'll get a really clear picture of who's spending, who's hiring, and then where the work will come from. And that may be around next month. Is normally May is when we kind of get that picture. So definitely intrigued to watch the space and see what happens there.
Sure. And especially for the people, because I know quite a number of diverse people have joined. Some of them are in their immigration cycle who have come here, who are or who have completed their educations or in the early cycle of employment, but they are experienced people. So I think this could be a good news for them that how they should keep their skills ready, their resume ready, and there will be more calls happening, and there's a greater likelihood of getting employment expected. So, which is a positive thing. Okay, let me jump to the next part, and especially because it's all about people-centric conversations in our forum. Which skills are gonna be in demand and likely to remain valuable? So, David, over to you.
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting question because I think predominantly over the sort of the last 6 months, we've seen the drastic increase for around organizations wanting to implement artificial intelligence, AI, chatbots, yeah, artificial intelligence within their whole core um, organization to increase, efficiency. So I think more the next upcoming trend would be a lot of this sort of development BA skill set, but those who have experience dabbling in the world of AI, whether it's dabbling with your chat gpt, whether it's utilizing your Microsoft Copilot. A lot of these organizations want to bring in or implement AI into their business to increase, to even further increase the efficiency and the operations of one organization. But I guess the skills, and I guess to answer that back, and I think we've seen a lot of pushback around people wanting to implement AI within certain organizations or current employees seeing the pushback because they feel like that would be a massive threat to their skill set, right? A massive threat to their skill set. What I mean by that is they feel that once you've implemented AI, that the need for that human interaction or that human skill set will obviously fade. With that one, I guess I disagree because I think it is AI is almost there, in my opinion. All right, AI is there to help you with your job, make your job uh, easier, a lot more efficient. It's there to support you, but it's not there to overtake you or overtake your position, right? Outside of that, outside of the, I guess the world of AI, so that's one trend. The other trend that well, not really a trend, and I guess the other skill set that will remain valuable in today's market is obviously your very technical skills, like your development, your testing, because as to dabbling into what Henry mentioned, we're seeing a lot more transformation work happening in both the banking, and I can attest to that. There's uh, transformation work happening in both ANZ, BNZ, just to name a few organizations that are doing a massive overhaul of their core ledger applications or their core banking applications, right? And more recently, which we will dabble on a little bit later, around policy. Is obviously the recent implication of, or the recent announcement of RBNZ around open banking, that every bank has to adhere to. Making it a lot easier for a lot of these customers to, access or move into one bank to another bank in a lot more, you know, uh, uh, efficient and easier way, to say the least, right? But I think every skill set out there in the market will remain valuable, especially in the technology space. BAs, testing, testers, architects, PMs, project managers will continue to remain relevant at least for the next 5 to 10 years, if not be, due to this obviously these overhauling programs that are happening both in government and in private sectors as well.
Noted. Thank you. And so the key theme that I'm hearing here is that AI chatbot automation, it's around the corner. While I mean, as a person, I may not like it entering this thing into my world, as definitely there is a visible threat, but it's anyway on CIO roadmap. That's pretty much everywhere. That's is a theme of all the big forums. That's on Gartner, that's on McKinsey. So even if we do not like, it's knocking the door, it's expected. All big consulting companies are heavily focusing on that, so it's gonna come. I think that's the thing. But what this also means is that for all pragmatic people, it's not about resisting the change, it's all about acclimatizing with it. So then key conversation would be that how you can position yourself to embrace it and you become more valuable and you ride on the AI wave for the further growth. So this is where I think the key aspect I'm taking away is that understanding the business context, understand leveraging your experience smartly, and packaging or wrapping it around AI or chatbots or automation could be a valuable thing. And in addition, you also mentioned that these core tech skills are not replaceable right now, especially the programming skills, testing, architecture. These practices are not replaceable at the moment. So this is where you can hang on. But I think it's all about keeping a forward-looking view that what will be the next thing for you to acquire, and it's all about preparing for tomorrow's career. That's how I am seeing it. So let's come to while we have seen the forward looking, the brighter and the shining things there. Let me hear from you, Henry, that which skills are still there but likely to lose the shine or demand in the market, and especially not to alarm people, but it's all about foretelling the people that uh, we are sensing something similar. They, if they like, they can draw something from it and prepare for their remedial path. So yeah, over to you, Henry.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I think I guess one of the things that we're probably seeing less and less of is people that are skilled in like legacy systems or that sort of basic legacy IT skills. Most of the demand we're seeing is more towards your certain products, whether it's anything Microsoft related, Salesforce, anything AWS, and probably not so much in the Google workspace or stack in New Zealand, but still like those sort of larger organizations or larger technical stacks are definitely be more used as opposed to legacy ones. We're probably seeing less like manual testing or manual sort of, it's more moved towards the automation role as well. And I think the main thing we're probably seeing less of is those who are perhaps, from my perspective, in like a BA or project manager space, those who have consider themselves quite a generalist, a bit of a Swiss Army knife, have moved across working on some policy or business change programs, perhaps done some application upgrades or deployments, perhaps worked on a data warehouse project. So maybe got a lot of great skills, worked in a lot of variety of areas. That CV, it can be quite hard to sell that to a customer now, because if a customer comes out for a certain role, they know it's candidate rich. They're going to be looking for certain skill sets, maybe have worked on a particular type of project that is similar to what they're trying to achieve, whether it's implementing a new CRM which is built into Salesforce. They're hoping they can find someone who's overseen a project that's the same. And good project managers can normally run with what requirements they have. It doesn't matter what technology they use, but at the end of the day, with the customers being risk adverse, that's what they're looking to see. So I think it's sort of treading towards people not necessarily pigeonholing themselves, because that can also be challenging if you pigeonhole yourself into one corner that doesn't become desirable in the future. But just being a bit more immersed in some of the major technologies that are being used out there, whether it's just doing some small upskilling courses, ideally, working on similar projects that you've been working on before, because there's too much variation. As much as people do like a career change time to time, or a bit of a fresh change of scenery in this market, it's those people that are struggling at the moment to find their next role, those who have worked on similar projects, similar technologies through and through for, say, the last 3 to 5 years. They're the ones that we're finding are moving into their next role a lot easier, and not having that big gap in their CV as well. But the main skill that's probably emerging again is just communication skills. Cultural fit is key, really, and that's why every organisation is different. It doesn't matter who you put in front of them. If can match what energy or what sort of person they're looking for, and your goals and values, you know, add to what the organization is trying to achieve, then that's probably the most important match, really. But technical skills are also very important as well. So it's definitely a bit of a mixture there.
Sure. So what I'm hearing, Henry, is that it's about, especially there is a greater reliance that industry or hiring managers are looking for these cluster packages such as the SAP or ECRM or Microsoft, which come as a pack of things, pack of functionality rather than individual skills or technology. So that's what I'm hearing is gonna be in demand, whereas those nuclear skills, standalone things may not be that valuable, and especially hopping across skill set could also be detrimental in this kind of market. So having greatest proficiency in certain area and then continuity is more valuable. But what you also mentioned is that the evergreen skills, which is about communication and cultural fit, is still a very prominent thing, is still a solid criteria for fitment. And I remember our conversation earlier that at times uh, other skills may be acquired by the people, or even if they are not at the highest level of proficiency. But I think cultural fit is seen as a more important thing, because that will ensure that smooth functioning within the team and um, smoother delivery. Am I hearing it correctly?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Great. So now let's jump to the part that with all these things, trends, and there have been quite a lot of policy changes happening, and government, of course, is exerting its influence in multiple ways. How are those affecting, and where are we heading with that, David?
Sorry. Awesome. I thought I was muted. So with the policy changes, I think um, two of, I guess, the substantial, or let's say the most important policy change that we've seen in the we've seen pop up in recently is the digital nomad visa that the government have introduced sort of January 2025, which is a policy allowing digital nomads to work remotely for foreign employers while residing within the country for up to 90 days. I think how that has sort of how they're shaping the job market is not really necessarily impacting the job market as it stands, but it's really impacting the growth of the local economy, right? I mean, because they're obviously getting paid, um, they're getting paid overseas through their external employer. They're living in the country for 90 days. They're obviously utilizing the goods and services that the country provides. But I guess the other thing that I really want to highlight is the relaxation of Immigration New Zealand around um, work visas. Obviously, I am not an immigration officer. This is just what I've read and researched as well, but we've seen there has been a relaxation in terms of getting that approval around accredited employee work visas. There's no there will be an elimination of the medium wage requirement, which means that employers are no longer obligated to meet a median wage threshold for individuals with accredited employer work visa. Um, they also have reduced the experience requirements as well. What that looks like is they've reduced the minimum work experience required for migrants have been decreased from 3 years to 2 years, making it a lot easier for them to get entry to the workforce. Um, They've also extended the visa durations for lower skilled roles. They've been extended to 3 years maximum, matching the maximum continuous stay allowed under the sort of AEWV visa. Um, they've also streamlined policies around streamlining recruitment processes for employers to engage with MSD have been replaced with a declaration based system, simplifying the hiring process. So these sort of changes and what they're trying to do is the changes aim to attract a broader pool of skilled IT professionals, both from a junior level at the same time from a senior level, but at the same time addressing the core issue uh, and addressing the sector's demand for talent.
Sure. So, what I'm taking away from this is that while in the short run, it is not it's not expected to affect us that much, but with there could be further policy changes or different tweaks that could come in later that could increase the market presence, or they could, and especially if something can be done remotely now, and why can't that be a potential uh, delivery skill from this geography itself, as long as it's paying taxes to the government. So I think that could be extrapolation from there. So, well, thanks for sharing this, David. Let me jump to the most critical question that I think everybody is having on their mind, and everybody has echoed in some or the other way during the conversations, that with every job drawing more than like 100 plus applications, which is what everybody echoes nowadays, how can people increase their chances of getting shortlisted?
Mm.
Henry, what are your thoughts? What are
Yeah,
those tips? What are the secrets? Or
yeah.
maybe we can also see this as an inefficiency, that why people miss out certain things. So, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Well, that's the big question that people are always wondering, and even I experienced that, I suppose, with a brief stint between jobs. Is what can I do to make myself stand out? And there's a few things. So, I mean, first of all, everyone knows upskilling is really important. Adding any certifications you can to your CV really helps, and actually having that knowledge that if you do get in front of someone, you can speak to that. But in terms of being able to get a foot in the door, probably the two things. One is you're building your network and your digital presence. So engaging with multiple recruiters, reaching out to hiring managers. If you see jobs posted and you think you know who it might sit in, just reach out. There's the worst you can get is a no or no response. That's kind of part of our job as you move into more the billing sales role as well. And I think it's really important to have an informed opinion as well. Creating a LinkedIn presence like yourself, Ashish, and that just builds that network and credibility. But in terms of the application, I think the best way to make yourself stand out is we do see a lot of CVs that are way too long. Of course, I think too many pages. No one's gonna sit through and read all that. But then also too short doesn't really paint the picture of what you've done. So we normally try to help our candidates with tailoring a CV, and the main thing is showing a bit of an overview of the organisation you work for. If you've been on a project, maybe talk a bit about the project goals and then what your responsibilities were. I think a lot of people fall in the trap of just saying this was the project, this is what we did, or this is what we tried to do. I think it's important to highlight what you did as an individual. on that project. So your role, your responsibility, and then having a separate section of your achievements in that role, whether it was setting up foundational work or writing a business case or developing a new framework or being on a project end to end, whatever achievements you had in that role, it's good to highlight that. So going back to that bit of overview of the organization, overview of the project, responsibilities, and then listing your achievements in the role. And then, just having the most relevant ones as well. I think if you're applying for a particular role, you definitely want to tailor your CV towards that. So even if you've got a lot of experience that is a little bit varied, worked in a few different organizations, maybe at the top, if you're applying for a bank, maybe you demonstrate some of your banking or financial service experience. If the role is for a government organization with a specific technology, maybe just pulling a few pieces of your experience that are relevant to that on a bit of a cover letter page, but also just like an introductory page on your CV as well. And didn't need to overcook it. Keep it simple, keep it clean and tidy. And the main thing is that customers are dealing with a big influx of CVs, so you definitely want to get on that front page as much as you can, because that's what they're going to look at before they scroll through the rest of it, is what is relevant to the job description. And job descriptions can always be quite vague that are on Seek, unfortunately, because often the customer doesn't really know exactly what they're looking for yet. They want to engage that pool of candidates first to get an idea. So really just honing in on what the job description is looking for and slightly tailoring that front page to what the job description is saying, because a lot of people, and I was guilty of it, fall into the trap of just having a CV and then a shotgun approaching it and firing out to everything. And unfortunately, that's just a lot of extra work that may not come to much reward. Those who are a bit more targeted take their time to really hone in on what this job is trying to, what they want to hire, and how can you add value, and then demonstrating perhaps some of your values towards the organization and why you would be a good fit, why you think your values align with the organization and what they're trying to achieve. And I understand there's an element of when the market's not great, you just want a job. You take anything, but I think it's still good to have a bit of a not relaxed approach, but just slowing down and really taking time to cater and tailor your CV to that particular job if you think it's worth going for, as opposed to just putting your CV out to every single thing and then creating more problems, diluting it. Then you lose track of what you've applied for. A call might come up and you've forgotten which role that was, and then that might create further problems as well. So there's no set way to do it, but I think just really clearly outlining, overview of the project or your role, responsibilities, achievements, and that's what we've found has helped some of our candidates get some interviews and some roles.
Great. That was very comprehensive coverage of things would that can help people differentiate themselves, and especially you started from upskilling, which is about having more current skills, more updated ones, creating a digital presence, which I think most of the time techies completely miss out, because most of the time, except for congratulations for completing another anniversary, is the kind of branding most of the people put. So this is where I think this is a big of trust building exercise, plus also showcasing exercise, as I see it. By the way, folks, I am coming up with a new workshop on personal branding, so you can watch out for that. But continuing here, so credibility, digital presence, network building is what was at the branding level. And then what I'm also hearing is that resume level tweaks are also important, not too long, not too short, having tailor-made rather than generic, customizing it according to the role, highlighting your achievements are very important, and followed by this very rarely heard thing, which is about your values. We hardly talk about these things. And so, in essence, being more invested and more intentional about this process rather than just clicking send. I think that's what is the essence. Am I getting it correctly?
Definitely, yeah, but definitely an element of making it personal as best as you can, and it's not always going. Sometimes CVs might go through, maybe not AI, but quite a centralized recruitment function where it might be a lot of screening through. But anything that makes yourself stand out, that looks personal, it's definitely going to catch more attention than every other CV, which just goes straight into work experience. Anything to make you stand out, making it personal. Some tips that we try, you know, to tell our candidates to help out.
Sure. Thank you. I think what I'm realizing is that we have already hit the clock. So, David and Henry, especially first you, are you okay to stay with us for another 10 minutes? But
Mm-hmm.
does your calendar allow that?
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely, mate.
Thank you. And others, please stay with us for another 10 minutes. But if you have to drop, no worries because I will be posting this recording. So you would be able to go through this part as well later at your own luxury of time. So then, next thing that comes to my mind, and especially largely untouched, that while most of the people say I'm a great match of technical skills, all the tick marks are done, I'm proficient, certificates are there. What is largely untalked is the cultural fit. How do you assess that, David?
So when I'm assessing uh, team fit or cultural fit, I guess the number one question I ask in the beginning: can you quickly introduce yourself?
Hmm.
And many times people love to ramble about, you know, ramble about their technical ability. Hey, Dave, I've been a software developer. I've been a BA. I've been a tester for the last 20 years. Specialize in this technology, A, B, C, D. But I asked them, well, you've not really introduced yourself because as much as people think, people like us who are assessing people or the people on the other side of the table, we want to know your story. We want to know you. We want to know what you're interested in outside of work. We want to know what your hobbies are. We want to know, what really is important to you, right? Because as much as people think there's only so, being technical and having that technical ability will only take you so far in your career. But having that mindset and that positive attitude of growth, um, and just being open minded is what I really focus on when assessing team fit. I look at, okay, would this person get along with my consultant on the other side, right? If he or she um, is struggling with a piece of work, are they comfortable enough to come to me or go to their colleagues and say, look, Dave, look this, look, Henry, you know, or their colleague, hey, I'm stuck, I need help. So I'm assessing those more softer, personable skills that I am when assessing team fit because I want the team to feel, or our clients want to feel, that the people that they have in the team are, yes, both technically sound, but are amazing and great people to work with.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you, David. And so what I'm taking away is that most of the time we end up rephrasing or repeating our resume when, especially the most important question when it is asked, introduce yourself or tell me about yourself. We actually completely miss the target where a hiring manager is trying to know us as a overall personality rather than some a task doer or more of a path centric or set of a skills only. So this is where we can appear more holistic by working extra on what our values are, what how we approach things, or how as a person we come across. So very useful. Thanks a lot, David. Now I am jumping to the list of questions that people submitted, and I'll take some of these which are largely which seem to be very important for these people, and those are recurring thing for mentioned by a couple of people. Very next question I want to ask is, how's job market looking from the perspective of jobs that will provide visa support, visa sponsorship?
Mhm. Well, that's very interesting, um, Ashish, because what I can tell you, 3 years ago, a lot of organizations were happy to sponsor, skilled migrants like developers, testers. I've actually had the opportunity to, um, you know, uh, couple 3 years ago, actually, um, one of my old boss, we hired a recruiter into the business who came into New Zealand with a work visa, with a visitor's visa, and we helped her attain that by sponsoring her because we just couldn't see any talent that would be best suited for the organization. Now, given that we are in the other side of the market now, where we're seeing a higher influx of candidates, there's a lot, you know, competitive talent competing in the market as well. We see a lot of customers and of our clients have are not, you know, are not willing to sponsor visas because they'll just go to us and say, "Hey, Dave, look, the market's there. I've seen, there's 200 applications that we've just received who directly applied to our website, and you're telling me that you don't have any, that you can't identify any, you know, qualified resource in New Zealand that have the right, working rights for the country." So that's one thing. So I guess a lot of the organizations are a lot more hesitant to sponsor visas, not unless your skill set is very, 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 very niche.
Got you. And I especially am hearing that the four times use of very highlights that how it focuses on the rarity of skills. Otherwise, there is a less probability of having a visa processing role. So I think that's what we are heading towards. Let's accept it. Uh, Not the answer we want to hear, but that's a reality. So, with that, next question. What kind of automated systems are in use during this recruitment process? Do you use any, or and how to work, how to work with those um, in this recruitment cycle?
I'm sure like a lot of organizations do, but yeah, internally, that's not. I think David, you had something to add there.
Yep, yep. So with this particular, obviously, when it comes to your standard recruitment processes are in place, but I don't think we are in a position to disclose those systems and those things, obviously, for intellectual property and uh, that we've signed with the business as well.
Okay, okay.
But
So, any tips in general that that people should keep in mind while that all the organizations will have some or the other automation in place? Any generic advice that?
I think the most I think I really love this. One of the questions that you sent is how do you sort of make yourself more visible when applying for a role, right? And the number one mistake that a lot of people do is when they go through a job description, or they could see a job ad that is posted on Seek, right? They would just apply to that job ad. They'll put in the effort, but the number one thing that they really miss out on is literally on the bottom of the page. If you look at it, the email of the person who posted the job ad was there and the phone number. So if you really wanted to stand out, I would almost just like not like apply for the role, but at the same time follow that application with a follow up email to the organization, or if listed, the person who listed that job ad, and say, "Hey, look, I just want to let you know that I have submitted an application for this role under this job number. This is why I'm relevant. I've also attached a copy of my CV and cover letter for your convenience if you couldn't find it from the job ad." Right, so it's making it a lot easier for for us, for the people who utilize job ads um, to have access and to really, for you to stand out.
Sure, got you. So I think this is where this is the key essence of this thing, that watching out that how we can stand out, how we can show that credibility, connection, and the human factor to stand out. I think that's the most important takeaway we would want people to take away from this conversation? Now, I have run out of those questions, and some of these which we haven't explicitly answered, but I feel those are answered indirectly. So that's why I'm not taking up. Let me go around the table. If there are any specific questions that participants who are still with us are having in their mind, feel free to unmute your line and switch on your camera and talk about it. Well, if I'm not seeing any line getting unmuted, could I say that everything is fairly understandable and no more queries? Well, if that's the case, then maybe it's time to wind up the conversation. So I wanted to say that thanks, David and Henry, for so much of research that you have done, the time you have invested in this to bring some meaningful things that people can make use of in their own career planning. And it's not just the career planning, it's actually the life planning, because when you are choosing a career or location, it's essentially everything, entire family is related to that. So we appreciate your insights, and here quite a number of pointers were given. So I hope people will make use of that. Same time, please, if you're looking for any more assistance, reach out to us. Wouldn't say that this is the only thing on our calendar, but please drop your queries. I would relay, and we will find a way to respond. In addition, I come online on Monday evening to answer some of the things that I can answer. But for any upskilling opportunities or career planning in line to what your preference or your values are, please reach out to me. You can book a free strategy call to discuss that. I will request, I will drop a feedback form to you after this call. So would love to hear from you how you felt about it. Uh, and I think with that we can wind up here. David and Henry, any closing thoughts from your side?
Yeah, well, hey, thanks so much for having us, Ashish. It's a really cool opportunity for David and I to get to help out where we can and share some of the insights from what we see day to day. I mean, our job is meeting lots of people, talking to lots of people, and just hearing all these perceptions of the market. But from our general sense, it is picking up. It is getting better. We are more busy, which in turn means there is more opportunity. So we are excited. It's still not quite where we'd love it to be, but it is trending towards where we'd like it to be. But just thanks for having the time. It's been a great relationship we've had, Ashish, working with you on this one, and really appreciate what you're doing to, get the voice out there, engage with people, give people that help and support and that hope, and hopefully, our insights can add to that a little bit as well. So, keep it up, everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And especially, yeah, this is the way to support the community and ensure that people don't leave. People are still here. So great. Thank you so much, everyone. Very nice
Thank-
seeing you all. It's been a great journey, and
mm.
please stay tuned for more things, more content that will be coming. And we will keep working. And I'm sure if I check with Henry and David for further updates at some frequency, they would be very, very open. So, with that, great evening to you all, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thank you,
great
everyone.
evening.
Have a great night. Thank you.